Welcome to Flex Your Feelings, the mental health and wellness podcast with myself, Sam Bell, and my absolutely marvellous this time,
my beaming smile,
marvellous co-host, Mr. James Penny.
Hello, sir.
How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
Super excited to talk about whatever we're going to talk about.
I'm always excited. The fact that we're doing this is such a joy for me, and I'm so appreciative of getting to have these conversations with you. And
you are really lucky to be in my presence.
And it's nice to see how modest you are, humble.
It's something I've really learned about myself, that modesty is not one of my strongest traits.
Well, I've always said you're a lovely human, and I stand by that.
I'm joking.
It is a nice thing to be able to do this, right? This is something that we're both very passionate about. So each time we get to do an episode, I'm buzzing to use your language.
I feel blessed.
I do, actually.
Blessed. No, yes. Like, I agree. Like, this came from a couple of messages on an Instagram. Fucking hell, it was like 6 months ago now.
Was it?
I think it was back in October.
Oh, we haven't had our anniversary.
Oh, you're not one of them. Oh, 3 months. That's an episode.
Where's my card?
That's an episode, right? People that celebrate 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and a 12-month anniversary.
I struggle to remember my birthday, let alone any other day.
That's because you've had so many. I've done it again.
No,
I've got another one in.
Theme. I'm not okay with this. Not okay with it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Anywho, so let's go way back. I say like we've done loads of episodes, but the very first conversations that you and I had about starting this podcast were about men's mental health.
Yes.
And we touched on this in the intro episode, I think.
We did.
In terms of, it was going to be all about men's mental health, but it was probably a bit, what's the word, like constrictive as to let's
we didn't
expand
want it to just be about men's mental health.
And it was like, you don't know how many, like there's a woman in everybody's life that it would have affected, so let's open it up, and in the end, let's just broadly do it, mental health. However, let's go back to what we were originally wanting to do and like talk about, and I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to delve into that.
Yeah, I agree.
To the men's mental health side. You're a man.
I am.
I'm a man.
You are.
I don't plan on being anything other than. What about yourself? You going up?
No, I'm cisgendered. You know what that means?
No. I've seen this on dating apps, which is funny because we spoke about that in a previous episode, but it's like, are you a cis man or a cis woman?
Cis man or cis woman. Cis basically refers to that you identify with the gender that you were born with.
Right, so do you know what I know something really funny?
What?
And this, if I'm making a really poor joke here, CIS is construction industry scheme. So every time I fucking read it, I was like, why are they asking for my CIS number?
Totally understand your confusion.
So sorry,
I'm a cis man. What is it? Construction.
Construction. It's basically a tax number, so you only get 20% tax when you're working as a builder or as an electrician in my case. Anyway, cis means you identify as the thing, the gender, the gender that you were born with.
So yeah, if you're cisgendered, you are. So like you were born a man, and you know you're a man, and you that's your gender. You're not, want to change that.
Is this a new thing?
Well, I think it's terminology to help navigate around the world of gender difference. So
because there's like 67 different things.
There are many ways to look at gender, and ultimately there's the vocabulary now that we use to try and navigate through that quite nuanced world. So if you identify with a gender that you were born into, that's what cisgender means.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, that's probably another episode.
I hope I'm getting that right, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm not really well clued up in all that sort of stuff.
But we can educate ourselves, and that is, to me, you've seen the term, but you haven't really know what it means, but you do now.
Yeah, I do now.
Every day is a school day. Every day is a school day.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, we were talking about the origins of this podcast and what we wanted it to be about. And before we started recording, we were chatting a bit about what conjures up, what gets conjured up in someone's mind when we say men's mental health.
Like what society would assume we would want to talk about.
And it's interesting because I think that for me at least, when you mention, if I can get my words out, mention.
Give him another coffee.
Yeah. The caffeine's wearing off. Hello, can I have another coffee? I think there might be an assumption made, and this could just be me, but that we're talking about straight men when we say men's mental health.
I don't think it's just you.
Okay.
I think that is society. When you do talk about the struggle of men's mental health, the go-to is to add a few things on there: working class, male, that is straight. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like probably be the one with a wife and 2 kids that doesn't want to talk about their feelings.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
I think
very
you're right.
specific demographic of person, and that's interesting to me because I think there's a reason for that, and it's probably a very good reason that we include members of society that are put under a lot of pressure and, I guess, socialized into being the way they are, and that maybe there is more of a struggle for them to talk about their feelings. But ultimately also it's like, oh, well, then are we excluding all men? Like gay men, trans men, whoever is a man, you know, when we say men's mental health, if we are just thinking about one type of man,
Yeah.
what does that say? And it would be interesting to talk that out.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think just what you touched on there in terms of gay men and transgender men, I can't speak from experience. Obviously, you can speak on as a gay man, but that in itself brings potential for completely different
Life experiences,
but different. What those life experiences then have potential to have a negative effect on your mental health. So, yeah.
So I think what we're saying is that at the moment there may very well be an assumption made when people say about men's mental health, and there's other podcasts out there that talk about men's mental health. It's a very important subject. It's talked about more and more and more, but is it quite a narrow focus, arguably, on heterosexual men? Or is it that focus needed? Because that's the subgroup of people that really do struggle the most, because society molds them and shapes them into a version that they, you know, that when we say about sort of alpha males and toxic masculinity, etc., that is primarily directed at heterosexual men, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think just before I go into it, like there's never been I'm going to use this word, but easier time, more socially acceptable, should we say, to be a man and talk about your feelings. But yeah, I think, and myself included, the minute I initially was thinking of men's mental health, you relate it to yourself, don't you? So I was like, you know, working class, white, British, male, straight, and how, like, I was never the type of person to want to talk about my feelings. And it's funny that you mentioned about being like the alpha and stuff like that. I always used to class myself as like I'm an alpha male. I might only be fucking 5'6", but I got a personality of a fucking giant as far as I'm concerned.
It's not about your physical appearance, is it? It's about a vibe and
exactly.
a mentality.
But I would have never spoken about it. And now, like, I think you even commented on my video on Instagram. It was like, I went to therapy and I was like, get rid of this fucking stigma that it isn't powerful and it isn't strong. Because as far as I'm concerned, any guy that is well in touch with themselves and being able to speak about how they actually genuinely feel, that makes you even more of an alpha male. And in terms of like attracting women, most women I know, if you're a guy, straight guy, and you're in touch with being able to talk about it, that's an attractive trait as far as I'm aware.
There's still a long way to go, though, right? Because
Absolutely.
I think it's quite confusing. There's a lot of mixed messages out there about what women want. Not to quote a Mel Gibson film, but
Fantastic film, though.
Is it Helen Hunt? I can't remember who the co-star is. Anyway, there are a lot of mixed messages, and I think it can be quite confusing for heterosexual men as to, you know, what is the best way to be. Do women want the protector, alpha male, strong, capable, practical man, or do they want a man who's in touch with his feelings, or do they want a balance
why can't
of
you be both? Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I think that there are still a lot of mixed messages out there.
Yeah, I think that's like the whole, like, it's a massive subject in a minute about toxic masculinity, isn't it?
How would you define what that actually means?
Well, I could do an hour's episode on this, I think. I think there was a period where if you were old school, you were seen as being like an old school gent. And it was like that fucking phrase of chivalry's dead. Like all these things that I kind of watched my dad do for my mum, like provider, protector. Like I had a great upbringing in terms of, like, I never wanted for anything. I wasn't spoiled, but I saw how my dad looked after my mum, how he looked after me and my brother. And the geezer's my idol. Like, I fucking love him to pieces. Like, following his footsteps in terms of career-wise. And if that isn't enough proof that I saw that massive male figure in my life and I aspired to be like him.
Oh, shout out to your dad.
Shout out to Chris Bell. There you go.
Hi, Chris.
I would have never classed my dad as a toxic man. But now, like, some people that have gone the complete other end of the spectrum, and so they do all those things, but they're like, their missus can't go out and stuff like that. Like, that's the toxic part of it for me. Like, and I was narcissistic in relationships at times. Like, I know that about myself now. Oh, it wasn't okay, and it was all about my own insecurities and how they came to surface. And it was like, you know, I at some point I didn't really like my partner going out because I was fearful of who would try and talk to her. When really I was just projecting. And it's going off on a tangent again, as I love to do. But that toxic masculinity these days is, you know, it's like the figurehead is like the Andrew Tates, right? And it's...
I don't know much about him. Can you...
I don't really know loads about him. Like, I've seen some of his earlier footage is shit. It's rubbish. The way he talks about women is disgusting, to be quite honest.
Right.
Some of it now, he's kind of just... I don't agree with it, all of it, but some of the messages that he tries to give out in terms of, as a young male, like, and I think his probably target audience is something like, you know, like 18 to 22, 23. People that have probably been brought up on like PlayStations and stuff like that. It's like, right, fucking stand up, go to the gym, get fit, get healthy, go get a career, go earn some money, go find a woman and look after her. Like, I don't think that that's a bad message, personally. I'm not saying that every woman needs to be looked after, but find a woman that you can build a life with. And then, like, I've had conversations with girls that I work with and my friends as well, and why is it seen to be bad that you want to, quote, look after someone? Because doesn't that show that you care? And that's... I struggle to understand the whole toxic masculinity thing, if I'm quite honest, because things that I think are okay in terms of... I'd love to be in a position one day where financially, whatever partner I have, I could turn around and go, do you know what, right? Quit that job that you're doing, because I know you don't quite enjoy it. You can do anything you want. I've got you covered. I'm not going to use it against them and be like, I bring the money in. I think that's where the toxic part comes in.
Yeah.
When you use it as leverage.
It's like chauvinistic and narcissistic.
Exactly. But I want my partner to be able to turn around and go, oh, I really want to try this. Do it. Absolutely do it. Like, I've got you covered financially. Like, or, you know, if there's ever a time, God forbid it should ever happen, that you out and something happens, they would look to you or to me as to go, well, I know he's going to protect me from this danger or something like that. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Yeah. So in terms of toxic masculinity, I think there's massive blurred lines, and I think it's down to the individual as what you class as toxic. There is a very, very extreme cases out there.
But overall, we're talking about a persona which is oppressive, controlling.
But isn't that just like a narcissist?
Yeah, but it's looking at masculinity as you've got to be this proverbial alpha. You've got to be the breadwinner. You've got to assert some kind of
dominance.
Yeah,
and I think especially in this day and age, like, you need a partner. Well, me personally, I need a partner that's going to match me for my confidence and for like my energy and that, and you work together. Like, if you're an alpha male, in my opinion, whatever that means, yeah, whatever you define alpha as, that's to be about with other men, does that make? I don't know how I'm really explaining this. I'm not really explaining this very well, but you're not meant to dominate your partner because then that's when the toxic part comes in. Because you're like, I'm the man, I'm in charge, I'm in control. What you do as I say, and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, nah, fuck off, mate. Like, you are a toxic prick. So, I don't know. Probably 10 minutes of waffle.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's a very complicated subject.
It is, yeah. And
I don't think there's one definitive way to talk about it. So it's great that we're having this conversation. I think.
Although I bet there is a definition.
Oh, there probably is, but I don't have my dictionary on me. Oh, dictionary. What?
Dictionary, as if you just carry it around in your back fucking pocket.
What time era am I from?
Right, I'm Googling as you
Oxford's
talk.
English Dictionary. Definition of masculinity.
Oh my goodness.
Or just use your phone.
What is considered toxic masculinity? So toxic masculinity is a term that has been gaining traction in the past few years. It refers to the dominant form of masculinity, wherein men use dominance, violence to control and to assert their power and superiority. I cannot talk, but yeah.
No, in essence, what we've said.
Well, and it's disgusting, but I think at the minute it's thrown about so easily when I don't think that some people that do things, as in men, they get called they're toxic, and that's not in their intention at all, because they're not doing those things. They're just trying to be a little bit, quote, old school about things, and they have old school morals. Maybe they're a little bit outdated. I don't know.
Well, talking about beliefs and values and your childhood, how you were raised, how you were taught by society how to be, and what makes you a good enough man.
That's that nature nurture thing, right?
Yeah, but I think when we talk about men's mental health, and that perhaps there is a sort of consensus there that we're talking about heterosexual men. Historically, for example, men were providers.
Yep.
And they were looked upon as a person to protect their family, and there is this huge onus on a man to be the main earner, and to sort of like being the man of the house.
I've got this image of cavemen sitting around talking about their feelings.
Oh, it's a really difficult hunt earlier. I felt quite emasculated because I threw my spear and it didn't quite hit them. There's something about being taught that to be a man, whatever that means, in terms of heterosexual sort of communities, it's like you've got to be this, whatever strong means. You've got to be, I don't know. There's a pressure to be sort of untouchable and impervious to harm, and have all your shit together all the time, and to have the best paid job, and to be in the best shape of your life, to not have feelings, to be practical, to be able to fix everything. I mean, it's a lot of pressure put on men.
Thanks for describing me, but yeah. I'm joking. I'm far from fucking got it all together.
But we need to be talking about this, because I do think that with all of what we've just said, there's not much room there, is there, for then being able to express your feelings. And I don't really think that men are taught much around how to express themselves, other than the emotions of perhaps anger, which I think is very, if men say they don't talk about their feelings, perhaps there's a stereotype around, well, they don't talk about all their feelings, but they do express aggression and anger.
Yeah.
But do they talk about sadness? Do they talk about vulnerability? Do they talk about fears? Do they talk about insecurities? Do they cry? Do they group with other men and share? And I guess, there'll be many different interpretations of that. But generally speaking, it's at the moment likely to be a no. But we don't want it to be a no. We want them to be able to feel that they can talk about how they feel. But I'm interested to know what your thoughts are. I mean, do you feel that there's still a long way to go?
Massively. I think so. But I think that the progress can't be ignored either. I think it's, well, I said it, we're in a society where it's never been, the word easier is wrong because it's down to yourself whether you feel like you can. But the opportunity to be able to be accepted in talking about your feelings as a heterosexual man has never been more open to do so.
It's just whether or not people feel that they can.
It's then onto the individual. And, you know, if I go back to even not that long ago, the only time that I would talk about my feelings with my lads is when you were off your head and you were pissed up.
Okay.
And then it was like, oh, we had a really deep conversation. And it was always made a joke out of. And sometimes you would probably just not bring it back up because you're like, I don't want to talk about it again.
Or...
Probably embarrassed. Whereas now I'm very, very fortunate that I put myself through some really stupid shit. I now go to therapy every week and I have never been more open about my feelings and I fucking love it. Like, I genuinely do. Like, we joked about my session yesterday earlier, but...
Your therapy session?
My therapy session, yeah. Not an actual session. I don't do that shit anymore. But, yeah, and I think just me doing that, I think I've inspired a few of my other mates to be a bit more open about it, because if they think, well, Sam can do it, and like, I was very hardened, didn't want to talk about it. I was surface level bravado, like I was that toxic bloke at times, I'm not going to lie. But then it's like, fucking hell, Sam's changed, Sam can talk, Sam can... We're getting some notifications. No. There's people fucking writing in going, oh, you toxic prick, shut up. But yeah, I think there's shitloads of work to be done. And I think there's a fine line. And it's down to what you believe yourself.
Mm.
But talking, i.e. therapy, about your feelings is a absolutely monumental step to self-growth, in my opinion, as a man. However, I do still believe that it is in us as, quote, men, that you do need a purpose still. So you do need a bit of drive. You do need that, like the coach that I have talks about it being like, you still need that, like, metaphorical animal to hunt. You need a drive, you need a mission. So talking about your feelings and how they affect you and being vulnerable is amazing, but use it as a strength and then use it to do something with, like, use it in your actions. Don't just talk about it and then when you walk out of that room, whether that be a coffee shop with your mate or a therapy session, don't then go, okay, I'm not going to talk about it now for another 2 weeks or whatever. Take it into your day-to-day life. Use it. Use what you're learning about yourself, because I can guarantee you're going to be a far, quote, stronger man if you do that. That's what I think. I think at the moment, we're great at saying just talk about it, but there needs to be more. There needs to be, right, talk and do. Because as men, gay, straight, whatever, it is in us to be doers, to take action, to take charge, and that charge I talk about is of your own life, of your own actions. That's what I believe, anyway.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and I think it's so important to acknowledge that sharing your feelings is strength, and there is strength in vulnerability. We need to rewrite the narrative around thinking that displaying your feelings, whether that's talking about them, whether or not you cry in front of someone else, that it's a weakness. That couldn't be more wrong. But what's sustaining that belief? Well, because people still hide their feelings from one another. And if we're talking about heterosexual men in groups, how often do they, console or comfort one of their, friends who is, crying about something really important in their life, for example? Does that happen very often? I don't know. But it's more about defining the fact that to be vulnerable, to demonstrate vulnerability, is in itself a superpower, because how else do other people fall in love with you as a person if you don't show your vulnerability?
Yeah,
There's
I rate that a lot.
A real toxic belief, I think, that people have to be, quote, strong, which means that they're untouchable. I've never really understood that, personally speaking. I think, well, I don't know you. If you're talking to me about, you know, X, Y, Z, and what hobbies you're into or whatever, I don't want to. I'm very conscious. I'm staying away from any stereotypes of heterosexual men in my head.
Football.
Yeah.
Let's.
Please don't judge me. But I was just about to say, you know,
boozer.
let's talk about cars and football. I don't want to be that person.
I don't like cars.
Well, there you go. See,
and you can't park one, so.
No, I can't park one. I couldn't today. I'm still not going to laugh about that all day. That was such a huge space between my car and the curb. Anyway, I've completely lost my train of thought, but I think what I was trying to get to was that we're born, like you said about hunter-gatherers or whatever before, like you've got to be able to hunt the metaphorical animal, but we're born with the full spectrum of emotion as human beings. What is that beep? That beep has started to get on my wick. It's our Instagram page just completely exploding.
Pop it off.
But we're born with a full spectrum of emotions for a reason. Yes, okay. Physically speaking, like if you want to be, you know, about the sort of hunter-gatherers side of things, then we did go out there as the stronger, I'm treading carefully, gender, and go out and hunt. But
yeah, I know some pretty strong girls in the gym. Man.
Exactly.
They don't lift me.
Even that site doesn't really wash anymore, does it?
No, not at all.
But why are we capable? Why are we born with these feelings, they're not gender discriminate? Everyone has a full set of emotions available to them. Why aren't we using them?
A few of my exes would disagree with you there.
But we're not actually that different.
No, of course not.
As human beings, we're sentient beings. We're able to talk about our feelings, but society, struggling with my lisp, society dictates to certain groups of people that for some reason that emotions are off limits for you.
And that's the nature, right? And so nature, you're saying we're born with this spectrum.
Yeah, but, you know, we're not living in a world where we need to watch out for a saber-toothed tiger anymore. You know, we don't need to go out and kill our own animals. You know, we just go to a supermarket. So I don't know if I agree with the whole sort of like biology still existing in our makeup and our DNA, where we're still designed to be hunters. I'm not sure if I ascribe to that personally. However, I don't diminish it. I do see where you're coming from. But equally, like, we're living in a world now where we don't need protectors. Ultimately, I don't think we are able to protect each other. We can equally share out and distribute, caring for one another, providing for one another, looking after one another, as you said earlier about, you know, I want to look after my girlfriend or my wife or whatever. That's great, but she can equally look after you.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's still an assumption that, you know, you've got to separate yourself out somehow as being someone strong and untouchable and in perfect physical shape and the main breadwinner and all that. I think, God, we need to move away from all of these very archaic stereotypes and just start saying human beings are human beings. We can all feel and express emotion. How do we help people that don't feel comfortable because they haven't been taught how to express emotion? How do we help them be more confident?
Yeah.
How did you get more confident about if you moved away from the more toxic version of you to someone who's now, you just said, loves talking about his feelings?
I just love talking about myself, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that's what it is for, isn't it? It's like,
that's probably toxic in itself.
But how did you become more confident? Did it just happen?
No. I think I've always had a level of confidence, but
talking about your feelings.
Talking about my feelings, it happened because I made it happen. In terms of I lost relationships, I lost friendships through my actions of being a certain version of myself, and then in the process of finding who I really was and who I wanted to be through therapy, through life coaching programs, I realised that, to quote you, it was a superpower. I enjoyed going to therapy. I enjoyed learning all about myself. Don't get me wrong, it's fucking hard, and it still is, talking about things that you don't really class as trauma, but to you they were as an individual, and then talking about how that made me feel. And I just got very open to the fact that I'm allowed to feel however I do, and I can communicate that in whatever way I see fit. And I'm very fortunate that I have a select few people around me that are willing to listen to me as well, and they care. So that whole stigma of, well, no one's going to care about how I'm feeling because I'm meant to be. And you got to remember as well, like, I'm a firefighter.
Are you?
So I don't want. I'm not being a dick here, but that's seen as a very toxic masculine job.
Is it?
Yeah, but to the extent of you literally are a protector. I know that you like said about it in everyday terms, but my job is to literally save people's lives should that come to it, right? So to be that kind of level of quote man and be like, right, well, he's a strong man, like.
And there were women firefighters.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, from a male point of view, it's like I was probably a little bit fearful at the beginning. It's like, well, if I do start talking about how sensitive I am and how my feelings, is that going to give that kind of sense of, hang on, you're going to be a firefighter, you're not going to be scared of anything and all that sort of stuff. But if anything, it made me a better firefighter. And it definitely made me a better watch member. Like, I'm so open about therapy with the guys on my watch. One in particular, mentioned to me probably about a month after I was doing it, because the minute I started talking about my feelings, I was like, you couldn't stop me, right? It was like fucking pot of Pringles.
Get settled in.
Yeah. Get your popcorn, lads. And one of them turned around and he was like, mate, I'm like, it's so impressive how open you are about that you attend therapy. Even that you that you say that you attend therapy in itself is an admission, like that. That's amazing. But the fact that you're quite open about how you feel in general. And yeah, I think that's a society we do live in, but people are just still a little bit scared to take that leap. And I think the minute you do take that leap, the people around you that really care and that matter, they'll be the ones that are being like, oh my God, Sam, James, that's amazing. Like, tell me more. The people that aren't, that's fine. Let them do them. Like, they're not ready yet, and that's okay. But society as a whole, I think, is far more open to it. And I think to get confident in talking about your feelings, it's no different to anything else in your life. To get confident at doing something, you have to build consistency.
Yeah, you have to practice.
You have to practice it.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
I mean, I work with people every day, male and female, that are... I work with human beings, I like to say more than anything else, every day. Some are very comfortable talking about their feelings and some aren't. I know quite a few females that don't talk about their feelings. And I know quite a few males, and just because we started this conversation off talking about heterosexual men, I know plenty of heterosexual men that do talk about their feelings. And then equally, I know some that don't. But it's always such a powerful thing when you're in the presence of someone who doesn't know how to talk about their feelings, that when they start to open up to the idea, it's a safety thing, I think, primarily, and it's a fear of the unknown. If I start doing this, am I going to be judged? Am I going to be ridiculed? Am I going to feel embarrassed? Am I going to feel shame? Am I going to be, taken the piss out of? But often just giving that little gentle encouragement to say, this is okay. You can talk about your feelings. Tell me more about that. What was that like for you? Like you saying, it's now one of your favorite things to do. I do think we're innately built to want to talk about ourselves. So when we reconnect with the idea that we can, and you practice, like you said, and you show up with consistency, and you don't just do it in a therapy session, you go out and integrate it into your life. Yeah, before you know it, you're someone that's very open about their feelings, and you get to experience being a human being in such a more colourful way then, other than sort of this two-dimensional, I'm the protector, my role is limited to X, Y, Z.
Yeah. I mean, I was accused and rightly so, of not being very empathetic in the past, and I would say now, through being vulnerable with myself, through talking about my experiences, and through happily talking about my feelings, my empathy levels are, I'm very empathetic now as a person, and I love that about myself because it's growth as a human being, as you say.
It's evolution, yeah. It's true authenticity.
Yeah. So obviously, we've done probably half an hour now of talking about that stereotype of what men's mental health means to society, being the heterosexual. Let's talk about your experience and like where you think it's lost in terms of people don't really think about the gay men and the transgender men. Because why do you think that is? And I've got my opinion as to why that might get lost, but I want to know why you believe that you might, the phrase "forgotten about," but it's true. It isn't. It isn't like you're not. It isn't like, oh yeah.
I think there are conversations happening about LGBTQ conversations. I'm trying to be so inclusive as I talk, but yeah, there are conversations happening around gay men's mental health or trans men's mental health, because there are additional challenges there. So I think, if I'm trying to formulate what I'm going to say, whoever you are, however you identify as being a man or a male, you're going to have your life challenges as to what gets in the way with you potentially talking about your feelings in a healthy and safe way. So perhaps we think more about heterosexual men when we talk about men's mental health, because there is an assumption about gay men in particular, perhaps, that we're around women more.
Yeah.
So we're just socialized into feeling more comfortable about talking about our feelings. It's really hard to try and describe, because there could be a sort of acceptance that because you're gay, or you're just going to know how to talk about your feelings. But there are different challenges there. And if you're a trans man, there are different challenges there. So I think it's just very unique to the individual. But I think maybe there's a surge around talking about heterosexual men's mental health, because that's a group of people that still need to be given permission, maybe, to say, come on, you can talk now. That idea of you having to keep all your feelings in and be strong, air quotes, that time is over. You don't have to do that anymore. Just share your feelings, talk to each other. And actually, that maybe there's been more of an evolution for gay men and trans men in so many other ways, that talking about your feelings is more accepted and more understood. So maybe there's not so much of a focus on that for that reason. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's a complicated subject. I'm trying to sort of articulate it as best I can.
That makes a lot of sense.
But there is that, maybe that we don't go to in our heads thinking about gay men's mental health straight away, because there are different challenges there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think I like what you said about challenges, because I think that is specific to the individual. But I also, in my opinion, think that it is specific to those kind of the groups. If you were to group them, right? So
yeah, if we're
transgender have to generalize, there probably is a certain amount. Like, I'm not trans, I'm not gay, but I could probably imagine what challenges you would have in terms of talking about your men's mental health, i.e., a straight man assuming you're better at it than I am because you're gay, because I would assume that you've probably spent more time with women than I have.
But you've got loads of female friends.
And I've got loads of female friends. That's what and I've always been very fortunate to have a lot of female friends, but it didn't make me any better at talking. It made me, like, if anything, I was probably one of the worst people about talking about my feelings. The only time I, like I said, did talk about my feelings was when I was fucking off my head. And then it was just like, oh, Sam's on a fucking deep conversation again, when really, when you look back at it, and it's like...
Oh, don't interrupt them. Look at all they're having a DMC.
Yeah, but I was crying out for fucking help.
Yeah, well, quite.
Because I wanted to talk about all this shit, and the only time I felt comfortable was when I was fucking throwing shit up my nose or fucking drinking. Do you know what I mean? And it's like...
So I think innately speaking then, if you were to strip away all of the stereotypes and generalisations and societal pressures and expectations, I think every human being is hotwired to talk about their feelings.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
But it gets lost in translation. We get moulded and shaped and restricted in certain ways, as you know, and society at large makes decisions about what certain types of people can or cannot do. But I think strip all that away, that everyone, like you said, in layers perhaps, or deeper down, you wanted to talk, and that's because I think authentically, that's what being human is. We want to talk about our feelings, but there are so many layers of learned behaviour and stereotypes, and you were socialised and moulded in such a way that meant you felt you couldn't talk. But then given the opportunity to use a substance that was lowering your inhibitions, out all your feelings came. So I do think people are hotwired to talk to one another, but there's a lot to consider when someone's been through their life experience. How have they been shaped and moulded? What have they been taught? What do they need to relearn so that they can feel comfortable and confident in sharing their feelings, which I think is a natural state, personally speaking.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you say about as humans beings, but I think from like this kind of podcast topic point of view, doesn't matter if you're gay, doesn't matter if you're trans, doesn't matter if you're straight. Like, you're a man. Like, it's
and
okay.
Men talk.
And men talk.
And men cry.
Yeah.
And men feel, right?
Yeah. Like, I think one of the very first names that we wanted to throw around was like, Men Cry Too, right?
Mm.
And...
That was taken.
It was taken. Wankers. But I've...
Good luck to you, though.
Yeah. Do you want to collaborate?
Yeah.
And I've got no issues about crying as well. Like, just talking about my feelings, yeah. I said to you earlier about, like, the release that I got from my therapy session yesterday. Like, I got in my car and I just burst into tears. Like, and it's funny because I spoke to my friend Emily after, and she was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "I'm great." And she's like, it's confusing for people because they're like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, going there, making myself feel vulnerable and talking about it, and then having that release and those tears coming out, and I was like, "Oh, fucking hell, I needed that."
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And and don't get me wrong, not every therapy session is like that. Some I come out and I'm absolutely exhausted, and I'm like, you know, when you feel that brain fog at the back because you've opened up so many little doors in your head. But yesterday I was like, fucking hell, I needed that one. Like, released it, and I had an amazing day.
We should mention that this podcast does contain strong language.
Very strong.
We didn't say that at the beginning.
Sorry
about
swear
that.
count.
Yeah,
I think
you're swearing more than me today.
I think I will.
Normally, I'm the sweary one.
You are a bit tired though.
That is true. But like, I've experienced times in my life. I don't think it's got anything to do with me being gay necessarily, but I could be wrong. Obviously, it's how other people see me. But I would quite happily plonk myself in a group full of men and get to know them, chat away, given the opportunity, like to say, how do I word this? If I was in a group full of men and I turned to one of them and they were talking about something, I was like, wow, that sounds really tough. How does that feel? And they maybe, for example, tried to wiggle off the hook, and I was like, no, seriously, you can tell me, how did it feel? Given the permission, I think that most men would take me up on that offer and talk about their feelings. I'm quite happy to invite men to talk about how they feel. It's my comfort zone for me. And when I'm in social situations, I get men opening up to me all the time about how they feel because I give them permission to.
Yeah.
And if you give someone permission to say, no, you can say, like, I'm interested, genuinely interested. How do you feel about that?
Safe space.
Yeah. And all it is making eye contact, saying, wow, yeah, that sounds really hard. Like, tell me, what was that like for you? I don't have many examples of where people have said, I'm really not talking about that with you. Quite the opposite. Yeah. They'll talk, they'll open up to the point of where, I'll be looking at my watch 2 hours later going,
I'm not charging for this.
I'm dying for a wee. But no, my point is, given permission, I think most people do want to talk. Yeah.
And just to go back to what I just said then about creating that safe space, why do we need to create a quote safe space? And that's what society's done. It's created a space, especially for men, that you feel like you have to feel safe to be able to do it, when it shouldn't be like that. It should be, I mean, that safe space can be whatever you want, but why does it need to be safe? Like, it should just be normal.
Because if it's not safe, you risk feeling abandoned, ridiculed, ostracised, cast out, won't let you rejected. Go on there unless you have an Apple ID.
Through history, right? Well, because
quite
anyway, minute you did,
but yeah, please feel free to get about your feelings. Here, someone went, shut. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, thank you very much. Shut the fuck up.
Be confident and go and talk about your feelings again. But it's an internal safety, isn't it? And again, along with it, we trust in ourselves that we can hold our own emotions. And if somebody maybe gives us a little bit of a negative reaction to talking about our feelings, then we can hold that and say, oh, well, you know, that's more about them than it is about me. But yeah, why do we need a safe place? Well, I think because it's been very unsafe, or not even talked about really historically, that men like, you know, if you think about period dramas, you know, women stay in one room and talk about emotions, and then go off into the smoking room and they put on their smoking jacket and they talk about business. You know, and it's like, what is that all about? We must talk stocks and bonds and very much businessy type things.
I mean, is there smoking rooms anymore?
Well, but do you know what I mean? It's like that we've come so far already from that sort of, rather draconian way of looking at of being a man, but there are still parts of society that I think do contribute to an unsafe feeling about talking about your feelings. Like in school, I don't know, growing up, if you're a straight man growing up in school, you know, and you're talking about your feelings, you know, do you go to football and then, yeah, by the way, this is happening at home and I feel really sad about it. You should be able to, but I still think people are being shaped and moulded into saying, well, certain people don't share their feelings like that. It's not the done thing.
Yeah.
It's not that men, you know, boys don't talk about their feelings. They play sport and drink beer and chat up women. And I'm
waiting to see what phrase you used there. I was like, there was a few on the tip of my tongue, and I was like, I'm not saying it.
I'm purposefully stereotyping, but that we need to completely eradicate.
But the stereotypes are there for a reason, because that's what it is, and it's down to us. I feel like we're very lucky in our generation that we've lived both, or we're living. We got to see how bad it probably was, and it's only now you do recognise how bad it was. But now we're in a position where we can do something about it. Like, we can change. Like, I'm 33. I know what kind of bloke I want to be, and I know that when my kids grow up, I know what
our kids.
Our kids. Honey.
Oh, that was another episode.
Was it? Oh, fucking hell!
So.
Get lost.
Oh, I've forgotten now. Just in case that doesn't make any sense.
It was this episode.
Was it?
It's
I'm
just,
so sorry.
That you were waffling for the last hour, so you've lost what you were.
Waffle.
I'm joking.
How dare you?
But yeah, I know what values I'm going to instill in should I have a son, and I also know that I'm going to make sure that there is not a single day that goes by that my son or daughter can't come to me and say, Daddy, this is how I'm feeling. Because it is my worst fear that should I ever have kids one day, that there is ever a time where they feel like they can't talk to me about something. And I will make sure that it's okay that they can talk about it with friends, with other family, but also make sure that they know that you're going to find some people that don't want to talk about it with you. And that's okay as well, because it is a two-way thing.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You're not always going to meet people that are going to meet you halfway and embrace you talking about your feelings, and that is, you know, part of relying on yourself.
Stop sliding into your DMs, James.
I've never been this popular. It's not me anyway. It's the computer, I think. But yeah, it's about trusting that, you know, if not everyone wants to listen, or they're not particularly welcoming or supportive, that's okay. There will be people out there that are.
Yeah. So if I was to ask you, I feel like there's quite a bit of advice that you could take from this episode. as a man. And about
you should be sitting there writing down everything that we're saying as golden, golden nuggets of advice.
But one little, just like a little leave, like a tip to leave on to say, right, like as a man, like one tip about a way to improve your mental health as a whole. I know that's quite a broad thing to say.
It's not too tricky. How long have you got?
No, but just like
you can start because you're.
Well, like I mean, that the biggest thing for me in changing the way that I evaluate my own mental health and stuff is doing exactly what we've spoken about for the last hour. Talking about my feelings, being more open, and being more understanding to my own internal emotions, my own internal thoughts, and communicating that with people if and when I need to. Not everything has to be spoken about, but some things, it feels better when you write it down or you talk about it with somebody. So top tip from me, take that first step and just have a conversation about how you feel. And I think you'll be amazed at where you can fucking go from there.
Mine, I think, will be a bit of a mantra for anyone that needs to sort of relearn that it's okay to talk about your feelings. And that is something like vulnerability is strength.
Oh, stick that on a t-shirt, boy.
Pop it on a fridge magnet.
There's the age again. There's the age. I'm talking about t-shirts, fridge magnets.
Oh, I love a fridge magnet.
Yeah, I used to bring my mum and dad back one every holiday.
It's the quintessential shitty gift, isn't it? Oh, I've thought about you. I bought a fridge magnet.
Is it got a 9 out of 10 of them got a fucking bottle opener on it as well?
Yeah. And my mind just went to something very different.
What, the penis ones?
The penis ones.
There's always a penis
one. You read
one.
my mind.
There's always a penis bottle opener with like Benidorm on it.
Do they vary in size? Anyway, that's a very different
massive
conversation.
Ones. Anyway.
But yeah, vulnerability is strength. If I could say anything to any person that was struggling to talk about their feelings, rewrite that in your head. Learn that to be vulnerable is your superpower.
Yeah. And also, like, just as a part, like a last thing, going back to what I said about generations, anyone...
Don't point at me. We are in the same generation.
We're on the same, we have the same generation. But we, as men, because that's what we are focused on in this podcast, but as generation, men and women, if you're listening to this, we've got the fucking power to change that whole stigma. Like, it's only going to get better if we start doing what we're talking about, right? And that's everyone pulling in the same direction. Yes, you're going to get a few people that go against the grain. Cool, fuck them, as far as I'm concerned. We have got the ability to mould kids, like the next generation, into making sure that it is fucking known that it is perfectly fine. If not, it's good. It's like it's encouraged.
It's healthy. It's necessary.
And we would be a far, far, far better fucking population for it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So, we got the power, man.
We have got the power.
I got the power.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Oh, you've already done it better.
It's good falsetto. I like it.
I don't even know what that word means.
Going into like a higher tone of voice.
Oh,
like
okay.
When people sing and they're like, I don't know, modern music. Like, I'm very much into 80s music and stuff, but yeah, if you go into your head voice, that's falsetto usually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got a singing lesson on a podcast.
Oh no, not that I'm there.
Anywho, would you like to tell people how they can reach us?
I love that opportunity.
Go on.
Well, we have an Instagram page and the handle is @FlexYourFeelings. We'd love you to get in touch. Feel free to, drop us a DM, say hi. If you've got any ideas around episodes or that you want to be part of the podcast, maybe be a guest, we'd love to hear from you. Very much interactive. Do get in touch and let us know what your feelings are about content and whether or not you like the podcast, anything. We're very open to feedback, aren't we?
Massively. And I think on that guest, let's really push that. Like, we want to hear anyone's story. Like, anyone that wants to come on. This isn't a exclusive just Sam and James podcast, because at some point we're probably going to get bored of each other.
I'm bored of you already.
Bit rude. But yeah, no, honestly, ask us anything, slide into the DMs.
Yeah.
And we look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, Mr. Penny.
And I can't wait.
Oh, he put me on the spot.
Oh, he put me on the spot. Mr. Bell is what I was searching for.
That makes it sound really authoritative.
It just makes you think of Mr. Ben. You're far too young to know Mr. Ben.
Right, you've mentioned Fireman Sam a cartoon, now Mr. Ben. So on that note, I'm out. See you later. Bye.
Bye.